Hi, I hope everyone had a great week reading their science fiction, fantasy, or horror book, whatever they decided to choose to read. So I'm going to start out with talking about quotes from the texts and articles from this previous week on science fiction, fantasy, and horror. So I'll read them for you guys. Our main point is that many young people enjoy science fiction, fantasy, and horror, and should be allowed, and in fact encouraged, to read quality books of their choice. One of the most recent genres to be accepted in young adult literacy, fantasy, has its roots in fairy tale myths and legends. So that's just basically saying that adolescents really enjoy these types of books and they should be involved in your classroom. Teachers should really encourage their students to read these types of books. Science fiction stories appeal to many middle and high school students, transporting them to a world where science fiction makes dreams and sometimes nightmares come true. And that's from the textbook. A strength of science fiction is its diversity and appeal to adolescents of various reading abilities and on a wide range of grade levels. Mirror and criticize reality, forcing readers to consider reality, ironically, at the same time as they are escaping from it. Finally, fearing censorship challenges, some teachers and librarians may be reluctant to use novels that present alternative worlds, change the supremacy of life on Earth, and present alternatives to contemporary religious beliefs. Science fiction, fantasy, and horror books allow readers to enter imaginative worlds that are full of endless possibilities. Well-written science fiction both warns and teaches readers to build the future they want based on logic and knowledge, and does so in a pleasing and entertaining manner. So, kind of what I got from the genre of science fiction, fantasy, and horror is that it really relates to young adults and high school and middle school students, and as teachers, we really need to encourage this for our students because they have the big imaginations, and these books really help students bring out their imagination and really think about these dystopias and utopias. So the books I chose to read this week are Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor and The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. And what made me choose these texts this week? The reason I chose Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor is basically because it was the only award winner book that looked kind of interesting to me. I never heard of it before, so I was kind of interested, and I read the summary and that sounded interesting to me. The reason I chose The Hunger Games is because during my interview for the adolescents activity, I had a lot of the children I interviewed really enjoyed reading The Hunger Games and could list different literacy activities they liked during reading it. So, I know students love this book. I wanted to read this book in depth so I can teach it in my future classroom. I wanted to think about projects for the book, and then I already talked about the interview process. So, what are they about? Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I'll read this little blurb for you. 20 years ago, Laszlo's parents died in a war, and he was sent as a baby to a monastery to live with monks. Over the years, one older senile monk told him of a city across the when I was reading these, I didn't know a lot of the words, and I kind of just would make nicknames for them, so I'd be across the desert. Outsiders were forbidden from laying eyes on it. None who ventured returned. The city fell into legend. When Laszlo was 5 years old, the name of the unseen city was stolen from his mind. Laszlo had been sure that magic was to blame, and he was and still determined to solve the mystery. Later, he left the monastery and became a junior librarian at the Great Library of Zosma, where he remained and read constantly. And this is where he would try to read as much as he can about the unseen city that was stolen from his mind. He had this interest in it, and the more you think about it, the more you dream about it. But then Nero ended up taking the book from him and reading it himself, and then that ended up being his dream to find out this huge mystery and discover it. We learned of 5 blue, half-human children of murdered gods that are trapped in the citadel that floats over the unseen city. The citadel is named of a blue metal that is shaped like a great angel. When their parents were killed, what they call the carnage, all doors of the citadel are either fused, shut, or open. But this book, I just like to say it has a lot of, like, fantasy things, and I'd never read a book like this. Like, there's ghosts, fairies, and, like, things that I didn't ever think I would enjoy, but I did. And I can see students loving this book because it can really make them think, and it's like a world that is non-existent, but they can picture it and kind of picture it as reality. And it's kind of like a lot about dreaming, so I talk about future literacy projects in a couple slides that I'll talk about. So, some quotes from Strange the Dreamer that I really liked. This was one that's talking about Laszlo's. "You're a storyteller. Dream up something wild and improbable," she pleaded. "Something beautiful and full of monsters." Beautiful and full of monsters? All the best stories are. So someone pushed him to get those dreams going. And he had loved the library and had felt as a boy as though it had kind of a sentience and perhaps loved him back. But even if it was just walls and a roof with paper inside, it had bewitched him and drawn him in, given him everything he needed to become himself. He spent a ton of the time at the library, and he discovered so many books that gave him ideas about the unseen city and made him want to go there more and more the more he learned about it. So him spending all the time being a librarian made him make the dream possible. He was a reader and an unsung expert on a long-lost city no one cared a thing about. So, like, no one even cared about this long-lost city, but he did. And I thought that was a really cool thing. So, what The Hunger Games is about, I'm sure a lot of you guys have at least watched the movie. But The Hunger Games follows 16-year-old Katniss Everdeen, a girl from District 12, who volunteers from the 74th Hunger Games in place of her younger sister. So what it is there's 12 districts, and every district sends a girl and a boy at random to go fight, and the one winner gets to win the whole thing. And if you refuse to do it, they kind of go to your district and attack you, because that's what happened to District 13. So they are mentored by their living victor, Haymitch Abernathy. I don't remember how to pronounce his name. But he won, and he's like this grouchy alcoholic, who kind of doesn't seem to care at first, but you can tell he grows for the two people, Peeta and Katniss, and gives them tips and tells them that they should pretend to be in love, but then they fall in love. When Katniss enters the world of the Hunger Games, she meets someone from District 11 named Rue, and she sees Rue as kind of like her little sister, and when Rue is killed, Katniss places flowers around about her body, and it's kind of starts a revolution, because people are seeing just how horrible it is to go through this whole killing process, and you're not gaining anything from it. Haymitch warns her that after Katniss ends up winning with Peeta, and Haymitch warns her that danger is far from over, so it leads into the next book. But I definitely want to have this in my classroom, because the more I'm learning about it and like reading it, really helped me get to know exactly what it's about, and kind of gave me some ideas for literacy activities in the classroom. So, quotes from the Hunger Games: Katniss, the girl who was on fire. She was known as the girl on fire. Rue, who, when you ask her what she loves most in the world, replies of all things music. So that just kind of like shows the beauty in Rue. Here's some advice: stay alive. That's from Haymitch, sorry. I'm more than just a piece in their games. So that was kind of saying, like, I'm a person. Like, I'm not just a part of their game that people are going to watch me on television. I'm not just that. Happy Hunger Games, and may the odds be ever in your favor. That was the host of the show. That's what they would say. Taking the kids from our district, forcing them to kill one another while we watch. This is the Capitol's way of reminding us how totally we are at their mercy. How little chance we would stand of surviving another rebellion. Whatever words they use, the real message is clear. Look how we take your children and sacrifice them. There's nothing you can do. If you lift a finger, we will destroy every last one of you. Just like we did to District 13. And every person that is sent to the district has their strengths and weaknesses and tries their best to gain sponsors. Sponsors give you money that will help you during the games. And that's kind of, it's just super interesting. So, literacy project for Hunger Games. Students select a symbol or object from part 1 or part 2 of the Hunger Games and create a pencil sketch or painting of it. Sorry, I'm talking really fast because these 10 minutes goes by so fast. I had students play the role of Haymitch and create tribute propaganda posters to gain sponsors. In addition to collecting the tribute photos, students need to create a slogan for their tribute and discuss the tribute strengths. Students also created posters for each one of the districts. Students needed to know each district's geographic location. Each student created a character and choose the district. They'd list their strengths and the weaknesses, and then there'd be like a Hunger Games within the classroom, and the teacher decides who wins and how come. Students type a 3-page story of their own utopia, dystopia society and share it with the class. Literacy projects for the Strange the Dreamer have students write about what they would like their dreams to be about, just like how Strange the Dreamer, whatever they think most about, that's what they dream about. Or you can do a literacy cube where you can have like setting, family, lessons, about author, comic, opinion, book review, what 5 people you'd recommend the book to, and that kind of just is the rest of my presentation. I did list one source because I quoted a couple things about Strange the Dreamer in that. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.